When power is abused in broad daylight, and dignity is stripped away before witnesses, the truth can no longer be hidden. Tonight's story reveals how a racist officer humiliated a black woman in public, and how the crowd was left stunned by what followed. The transit plaza ran like a river that didn't know where to stop. Vendors rattled metal shutters open. A bus hissed, pigeons lifted, circled and settled again like gray, gossiping clouds. Amara Benton cut through the flow with a practiced pace, tote bag on her shoulder, coffee balanced in the other hand, a file folder pressed tight to her ribs with a forearm. She wore a blue blazer, white tee, black slacks and flats, nothing flashy, everything intentional. It was Saturday, but her grant meeting had been moved up and life rarely waited. "Morning, Miss B," called Mr. Bello, the newspaper vendor. His stand smelled like ink and rain. He had tucked a tiny radio under the stacks. High-life guitar lilted through headlines. "Morning, sir," Amara said, flashing a smile that didn't leak any of the nerves tap-dancing in her stomach. Up the steps, a teen in a red beanie aimed a phone at the sky and narrated to a live stream about sun angles and golden hour. 3 meters beyond, a mother buckled her toddler into a stroller. Farther, a man in a security jacket chatted with the florist about game scores. A police SUV eased against a curb where it wasn't supposed to be. Its engine idled with a sound like held breath. Sergeant Kincaid climbed out first, heavy, built like an old refrigerator, eyes the color of cold steel. His partner, Officer Leary, younger and tight-jawed, scanned the plaza with the unease of someone new to public scrutiny. Kincaid's gaze found Amara, as if he had been given a name and a direction, and not much else. "You," he said, pointing with 2 fingers stuck together like a cheap knife. "Stop." Amara stopped. She'd been taught, twice by her mother and once by the world, to keep her hands visible and her voice steady. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Bag check," Kincaid said. "We got a call." "From who?" she asked. "Anonymous tip about a theft," Leary recited. Bello frowned. "Not from me." Amara blinked slowly and placed her coffee on a nearby trash can lid, as if she could put the heat down and pick it back up later. "I'm happy to show ID and receipts," she said. "What's the basis for detaining me?" "Same as always," Kincaid said, stepping closer than authority required. "Match on description." Leary glanced around, noticing the phones rising like a field of small suns. "Sarge, maybe. Bag. Now," Kincaid snapped, reaching. He didn't wait for consent. His hand went for the strap across her shoulder. "No," Amara said. "You need either consent, probable cause, or a warrant. You don't have." The strap jerked. The tote tore along a seam with an ugly rip, spilling its contents into the plaza like a pocket turned out for strangers. Laptop clipped in a padded sleeve, receipts, a lint roller, a tiny bottle of sanitizer, and the file folder burst open, papers fanning across the stone. Wind tried to adopt them. Bello lunged and pinned 2 sheets with a palm. A gasp rippled through the crowd. The teen in the red beanie whispered for her chat. "He just ripped her bag. He didn't even..." "Hands behind your back," Kincaid said, voice going broad for the cameras. He grabbed Amara's wrist and twisted. The move didn't look like a technique, it looked like a habit. "I am not resisting," Amara said, even and precise. She set her jaw against the shock that raced up her arm and turned it into breath. "Officer, you just destroyed my property and scattered confidential documents." "Confidential?" Kincaid laughed. "What are you hiding?" "Her lunch receipt." "Genius," Bello muttered, sliding 2 salads worth of paper back into the folder. The toddler in the stroller began to fuss. The teen in the beanie edged closer, lens steady. Leary cleared his throat. "Sarge, maybe you should write the report I'm making for you," Kincaid said without looking. He yanked again. The blazer sleeve caught on his knuckle and split with a sound that made Amara's ears ring. The tear revealed nothing more private than cotton, skin, and dignity struggling not to bleed. "Whoa," someone said behind the phone. He tore her jacket. "On purpose." "Badge number," another voice called. "Name." Kincaid's face hardened into the kind of smile you see on statues of men who insisted the world made sense because they said so. He raised his free hand toward the teen's lens. "Back up," he said, palm wide. "Lawful investigation, keep moving." Amara kept her voice where the microphones could hear it. "Sergeant Kincaid, I am complying. You do not have my consent to search my person. You have just destroyed my bag and damaged my clothing without cause. I request a supervisor on scene." "Call for your supervisor," Leary murmured, quiet enough that only the closest would hear. Kincaid ignored him. He reached for Amara's phone, half out of her blazer pocket. Instinct snatched at the fabric. His knuckle dragged. The screen skittered free, arced, and clapped the ground, spidering into a dozen white fractures like frost. The crowd inhaled as one. The toddler cried harder. Bello said a word that newspapers shouldn't print. A nurse in scrubs stepped forward, hands raised like she was approaching a skittish horse. "Officer, please." "She is not armed. You've already." "Back," Kincaid barked. Amara locked her knees, not against him, against the shaking. "This is an illegal detention," she said, not to persuade him but to frame the moment for the phones. The teens' chat scrolled in a furious waterfall. People asked for names, angles, light, truth, Unit 12, status. Dispatch crackled from Leary's radio. Leary swallowed. "Public disturbance at Station Park. Copy, Lieutenant inbound." Kincaid jerked Amara's wrist higher. Pain sprinted up to her shoulder and demanded attention like a siren. She moved with it, not away from it, giving her body a softer path. He expected a flinch. She gave him balance. It angered him because the script wasn't obeyed. "Stop resisting," he said for the cameras. "I am standing," she said, the words brushstrokes over a stone wall. "Everyone can see." Bello slipped the file folder under his stand lip to pin it against the breeze. Two high schoolers rushed in a crouch to catch runaway pages and slid them like cards toward Amara's heels. The nurse picked up the ruined phone and placed it, respectfully, on the trash can lid next to the cooling coffee. The teen in the beanie edged nearer. "Ma'am, do you want us to keep filming?" "Yes," Amara said. Her voice did not tremble. "Please film everything." No one stepped closer than his hand can reach. Kincaid's eyes flicked to the phone, then to the bystanders, then to the SUV. Analysis went off like a cheap firework. He leaned into Ace of Spades' swagger. "Obstruction can be charged," he said. "Keep crowd control or I." An engine note slid into the plaza, a sedan the color of rain with steel wheels and no light bar. The door opened, and Lieutenant Amani Voss stepped out in a windbreaker, her face composed like a ledger that had seen everything and still insisted on arithmetic. A woman of measured words and long patience, she had the kind of quiet that made noise feel ashamed of itself. "What's our status?" she asked. Kincaid didn't release Amara's wrist. "Matching suspect description. Attempted theft. Non-compliant." Voss's eyes moved without dramatics. Torn tote, scattered receipts, ripped blazer sleeve, ruined phone, nurse, teen stream, Mr. Bellows pinning palm, Leary's throat working like he'd swallowed gravel, and Kincaid's hand at an angle that explained the way Amara's shoulder sat too high. "Miss Benton," Voss said, voice like a clean blade across rope. "Are you injured?" "Pain in my shoulder and wrist," Amara said. "He tore my bag." "Did you consent to a search?" "No." "Did he articulate probable cause beyond an anonymous tip?" "No." "Leary." "We arrived 2 minutes ago," Leary said, voice dry. "No property reported stolen from this plaza today. The tip came on the non-emergency line without a callback." "Release her," Voss said. Kincaid stiffened. "Lieutenant, with respect." "Now," Voss said. The word dropped like a stone into a well and hit water at the exact center. Even the pigeons felt it. Kincaid let go with a theatrical sigh meant to translate as professionalism under pressure. It read as what it was. Voss stepped between them like a door closing. "Miss Benton, may I call a medic to document your injuries?" "Yes," Amara said. She flexed her fingers. The pain hiccuped, stumbled, and sat down in her shoulder like an uninvited guest who planned to stay. "Officer Leary," Voss said, "collect and secure Miss Benton's papers, take witness statements, and request video from any willing bystander." "Yes, ma'am." "Sergeant Kincaid," Voss said, "with me." "Lieutenant, with me," she repeated, turning toward the shade of the transit map as if they were just going to discuss train schedules. They moved 5 steps and then 2 more, out of the lens of the nearest phones but not out of anyone's hearing. Voss's voice did not rise. Kincaid's shoulders did. He gestured with open palms, then with fists. She responded with a finger counting off policy citations like verses. The teen in the red beanie panned slowly back to Amara. "Ma'am, the chat is asking if you want a lawyer. I'll decide after a medic sees me," Amara said. "Please share your footage with the lieutenant." She found the nurse's eyes. "Thank you." The medic crew arrived with a jump bag and serious faces. "Name?" the lead asked, snapping on gloves. "Amara Benton," she said. "Pain scale? 6, rising and crashy. Consent to examine?" "Yes," she said. Phones kept recording. Bello handed Amara a bottle of water on the house. She drank, then poured some over the cloth of her sleeve and wiped at the grit the rip had exposed, as if she could erase the moment. She couldn't. She could frame it. Across the plaza, Voss said a final thing that ended things. Kincaid's mouth made a line. He walked toward the SUV like a man trying not to limp, got in and shut the door with too much force. The glass reflected the sky like nothing had ever happened. The teen whispered, "Chat says his name is trending." Amara sat on the curb to let the medic triangulate pain. The grant folder thumped in her chest like a second heart. Lives depended on those signatures. Dignity depended on different ones. She stared at the ruined phone and saw herself in its fractured reflection. Small, fierce, unbroken, and very, very tired. A silver sedan slid up along the bus lane, careful. A woman in a dark blazer held a badge out her window long enough for everyone to read the capital letters at the top. She parked, stepped out, and moved like a person allergic to wasted time. "Miss Benton," she said, offering a card. "Agent Solana Cruz, Justice Civil Rights. I'm here because 1,000 people tagged my office in the last 5 minutes." Amara nodded once and closed her fingers around the card like a promise that could survive pressure. The plaza went on being a plaza. Pigeons, buses, guitars, rain radios. But the story had slipped a gear. Somewhere in the crowd, a woman clicked upload. Somewhere else, a man decided that was trouble. The medic pressed gentle along the tendons. Pain told the truth. Cruz lowered her voice. "I'm going to need your statement, and I'm going to need every angle of this." Amara exhaled through her nose, steady. "Then let's make the record." Behind Cruz, beyond the phones, at the edge of the plaza where the map didn't name streets anymore, a black sedan idled with its light off, hood pointing the way a finger points when it knows where it means to go. The medic's gloves snapped as she pressed 2 fingers lightly against Amara's wrist, testing rotation. Pain flared sharp and hot, but Amara stayed upright on the curb, her jaw set. She would not give the plaza more spectacle. "Sprain," the medic murmured, wrapping an elastic bandage, documenting with photos. A second medic snapped shots with a body cam and logged time, date, and officer name. "You'll need follow-up. Try not to lift heavy." "I still have a meeting in an hour," Amara replied. "I'll manage." Mr. Bello hovered with a bottle of water. "Drink, daughter. Your throat is dry." She drank, water cooling the iron taste behind her teeth. Agent Cruz crouched nearby, her blazer soaking in drizzle. "Miss Benton, can you walk?" "Yes." "Good. Lieutenant Voss will secure the scene. I need you somewhere calmer to get your statement." She glanced at the crowd. Phones still floated, lenses blinking like unblinking eyes. They're witnesses, but also noise. Voss stepped forward, calm as stone. "Sergeant Kincaid has been relieved from duty pending review. Officer Leary is gathering reports. I'll ride herd on this." "Thank you," Cruz said. She helped Amara stand. The teen in the red beanie edged close. "Ma'am, I'll send you the video. I've got full footage, start to finish. Please send it to Lieutenant Voss too," Cruz said. "Chain of evidence matters." The teen nodded, fingers flying across his phone. Amara clutched her folder under her good arm. The flap was bent, edges smudged with plaza grit, but the papers were safe. She felt the weight like a second shoulder. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "A neutral spot," Cruz answered. "My car, window blinds, dash cam running. We'll be clear." As they moved, bystanders parted like water around a keel. Some nodded encouragement, others stared. A mother bent to comfort her toddler, who had cried through the chaos. The pigeons had returned, unbothered, pecking at crumbs near the cracked phone on the trash can. Voss's voice carried behind them, measured. "Gather all names, keep statements clean, and secure that damaged bag. It's evidence." Kincaid sat inside the SUV, jaw like iron, knuckles white on the wheel. He didn't look at anyone. Leary handed Voss a slip of paper, then turned away, pale. Cruz's sedan smelled faintly of coffee and leather. She opened the rear door for Amara, who slid inside, folder on her lap. Cruz sat next to her, tablet in hand. "Tell me everything, from the moment he called out to you," Cruz said. Amara recounted it, each detail like beads on a string. Bello's greeting, the bag, the rip, the phone, the sleeve, the words she chose deliberately. Cruz typed fast, pausing only to clarify times. "Good," Cruz said. "And you requested a supervisor in front of witnesses?" "Yes, twice." "Excellent. That will matter." The rain deepened, drumming on the roof. The plaza's murmur dulled behind glass. A knock on the window startled Amara. It was Bello, newspaper bag slung over his shoulder. He leaned in. "Take courage, daughter. Truth is a stubborn guest. It never leaves." Amara managed a small smile. "Thank you." Cruz tapped the tablet. "One more thing. Did you notice anyone watching from outside the plaza? Any car loitering?" Amara thought. A dark sedan, headlights off, parked just past the bus lane. Cruz's fingers froze. "Describe it." "Black. No plates I could see. Hood pointed north." "That matches a note we got earlier." Cruz pocketed the tablet. "We'll follow up." From the plaza, a shout cut through the drizzle. Someone had stepped too close to Kincaid's SUV. Voss barked an order. Boots shuffled. The SUV door slammed, engine revving. It backed out hard, tires screeching before traffic swallowed it. Amara's stomach tightened. "He'll come back." "Not today," Cruz said, but her eyes tracked the direction long after the sound faded. The sedan eased into traffic, pulling to a quieter side street. Cruz turned the wheel with steady hands. "I'll take you to a safe office downtown. Neutral walls. There, you can rest and we'll file official complaint forms. Amara stared out the window. Rain washed neon into streaks. People hurried under umbrellas, unaware of the plaza's storm. She pressed the folder closer to her ribs. Agent Cruz, she said, this isn't just about me, is it? Cruz glanced at her. No, it's about a pattern. Kincaid isn't the only name we're tracking. The wipers beat steady. A siren wailed far off. Amara felt the day tilt again, like a floor not quite level. Then let's write it whole, she said. Cruz nodded. We will. Neither noticed the dark sedan slip 2 cars behind them, headlights still off, tailing through rain-slick streets. Downtown swallowed them in rain and traffic. Neon bled across the wet pavement, headlights fractured in puddles, horns short and impatient. Cruz's sedan slid between buses, her hands steady at 10 and 2. Amara sat silent, folder balanced against her ribs, shoulder aching under its bandage. You'll be safe once we're in the field office, Cruz assured. Neutral ground, locked entry, full surveillance. Safe is a word that moves, Amara murmured. Cruz glanced at her. You're not wrong. 2 cars back. The dark sedan ghosted their lane. No lights. Its wipers beat a slower rhythm, as if waiting for someone else to set the pace. Amara's phone lay cracked in her lap. The medic had offered to bag it, but she kept it. Proof mattered, even shattered. Do you think they'll erase it? Amara asked. Not if we get it to evidence first, Cruz said. Every frame matters. Even broken pixels tell truth. They turned onto 5th. Ahead, the field office rose like a brick sentinel, flag snapping wet above the steps. Cruz keyed her radio. Unit 12, escort inbound with civilian witness. Prepare bay entry. Static. Then a burst of garbled syllables. Cruz frowned. Repeat, Unit 12. Nothing but hiss. She tapped the dash. That's not right. Jammed. Amara asked. Could be storm static. But Cruz's eyes flicked to the rear view. The dark sedan was closer now. Too close. Bumper shimmering with rain. Amara followed her gaze. That's the same one from the plaza. Yes, Cruz said. And they shouldn't still be here. The sedan surged, then braked, hanging just out of collision range. Cruz's jaw flexed. She changed lanes. The sedan mirrored. They're tailing, Amara whispered. Cruz tightened her grip. Buckle up. Amara clicked her belt. Her stomach knotted. The folder felt heavier, as though paper could become lead. Cruz accelerated, weaving between a taxi and a bus. The sedan followed, tire spray rising. Who are they? Amara asked. Not ours, Cruz said, and not friends. She hooked left suddenly, down a side street slick with rain. The sedan overshot, then corrected hard, fishtailing into the turn. Amara clutched the armrest. They're not giving up. Cruz's phone buzzed. She snapped it on speaker. A voice crackled through. Cruz, radio dark. You good? Being tailed, Cruz barked. Black sedan, no plates, downtown grid. Advise intercept. Copy. Units rerouting. Hold 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a long time, Amara said. Cruz's eyes never left the mirror. We'll make it. The sedan surged again. Closer now. Shadow on their bumper. For a moment Amara saw a face through the windshield. A pale man with a cap pulled low, jaw locked. His passenger lifted something metallic. Down, Cruz shouted. She jerked the wheel. A pop cracked through the rain. The rear glass spidered into shards. Amara ducked, heart pounding. Papers shifted in her lap. They're shooting? Yes. Cruz swerved hard, the sedan skidding in pursuit. She slammed the brake, spun into a narrow alley, tires screeching. The sedan tried to follow, clipped a dumpster and scraped metal. Sparks lit the rain. Amara clung to the seat. Where are we going? Shortcut, Cruz said. Field office garage. The alley funneled them between brick walls dripping water. Trash bags burst under the sedan's tires. Horns blared behind as traffic clogged. Cruz punched the accelerator. The sedan jammed closer, bumper grinding against wet brick to squeeze through. The passenger's arm extended again. Another shot spat, pinging off metal. Amara ducked lower. We can't outrun them forever. We don't have to, Cruz said. We just need to hold. They burst onto Main, swerving across 2 lanes. Drivers honked, braked, scattered. Ahead, the field office loomed, lights cutting the rain. Cruz hit the horn, long and sharp. The garage gate rolled halfway up, guards waving frantically. Cruz gunned the engine. The sedan pressed their flank, trying to push them off course. Metal screamed as side mirrors snapped. Hold tight, Cruz shouted. Amara gritted her teeth. She would not scream. Not now. Cruz rammed the wheel straight and shot into the garage. The sedan tried to follow, but the gate dropped fast, slamming against its hood. The impact crumpled metal, sparks flying. Guards swarmed with weapons drawn. The sedan screeched in reverse, tires spitting smoke. then vanished into the rain. Silence slammed into the garage. Only Amara's ragged breath remained. "Out," Cruz ordered. She pulled Amara by the good arm, hustling her under the floodlit bay. Guards encircled them. Amara clutched her folder. Pages shook with her hands. Her blazer hung ripped, sleeve flapping. Her shoulder throbbed with every step. "Who were they?" she asked again. Cruz looked at her, rain dripping from her chin. "That's what we're about to find out." An agent ran up, headset crackling. Plates unreadable. Vin filed off. "Whoever they are, they're trained." Cruz nodded grimly. "And desperate." Amara sat on a bench, breath shallow. "It started with one man ripping my bag. Now it's this." "It started long before today," Cruz said. "You just happened to be brave enough to be seen." Amara stared at her fractured phone, screen glowing faintly. Despite the cracks, the recording light was still on. The chaos had been captured. "Then let them see everything," she said. Cruz gave her a look, half respect, half warning. "Be careful what you ask. Truth cuts both ways." From the garage gate, someone shouted, "They'll be back." The rain outside answered like applause. They moved Amara from the garage through a steel door that swallowed the rain and shut like a vault. Fluorescent corridors stretched left and right, camera domes blinking red. Cruz guided her past a wall of framed consent decrees and into a windowless conference room with a bolted table, 4 chairs and a humming air vent that made the silence seem alive. A tech in a polo set a gray evidence tray down. "Phone first," he said. "I'll dump what's left without altering timestamps." Amara placed the shattered rectangle onto the felt. The tech photographed both sides, scanned the IMEI, then slid the device into a capture cradle like a doctor easing a limb into a cast. Code scrolled on his laptop. "We'll get your plaza video in the chase," he said, assuming they didn't hit it with a jammer hard enough to corrupt frames. "Radio was jammed," Cruz said, but her phone light stayed on. "That helps." He tapped a key and nodded. "We're green." Cruz turned to Amara. "Hydrate. Breathe. We're not done moving." A woman with a precise bun and reading glasses entered with an embossed folder. "Assistant U.S. Attorney Yara Elkins," she said, offering a dry hand. "I'm tasking a rapid civil rights and obstruction review. You'll give a sworn statement, Ms. Benton, with counsel if you prefer. For now, we need a quick read timeline." Amara sat straighter. "Ready." Elkins glanced at Cruz. "Status on the tail? Vehicle escaped. No plates. VIN shaved," Cruz replied. Gate cam caught faces through rain. "We're enhancing." Elkins's gaze sharpened. "Faces. 2 males," Cruz said. "Not Kincaid. Private tools. Moving like train contractors or X-something. Copy." Elkins set a recorder on the table. "Let's make a clean track." They built it, second by second. The plaza, the rip, the sleeve, the phone shatter, the supervisor request, the relief order, the sedan idling beyond the crowd, the chase through alleys. Cruz filled gaps with radio logs and the gate guard's affidavit. The tech interrupted once to report, "Her video's intact, audio clear, it's already mirrored to secure." Elkins exhaled. "Good. We'll serve holds on city systems and Kincaid's body cam, even if he claims a battery failure. Lieutenant Voss will cooperate," Cruz said. "We'll subpoena anyway," Elkins replied. "Belts and suspenders." A door chime sounded. A tall man stepped in, rain dots drying on his suit, jaw like a squared-off rule. "Chief Ray Brennan," he said, extending a hand that didn't apologize. "City PD liaison." His eyes met Amara's first, not Cruz's. "Miss Benton, I'm sorry this happened. I'm here to make sure everything is handled properly." "Properly would have been not tearing my bag," Amara said even. Brennan took that and didn't flinch. "Agreed." He looked at Cruz. "We suspended Kincaid from field duty pending IA and independent review. He's in the building for a recorded interview with counsel." Elkins closed her pen. "He's here, under escort," Brennan said. "We keep our problems where we can see them." "Wise," Cruz said, but her shoulders shifted a fraction, like a boxer resetting stance. The tech's laptop chimed. He frowned, then leaned closer. "Agent Cruz, you'll want this." He spun the screen. A still frame from the garage gate, the sedan's windshield beating rain, wipers frozen mid-swipe. Through the glass, the passenger's face stared back, close-cropped hair, pale eyes, a jawline cut with a notch of scar. A tattoo ghosted the base of his throat where a collar didn't quite hide it, a winged spear, lines blurred by time. Cruz felt something lock into place. "We've seen that mark before." Brennan nodded slowly. "So have I." Mercenary unit disbanded after a port contract went sideways. 2 operators indicted, charges evaporated. Some of them landed in facilities gigs, hospitals, stadiums, courthouse maintenance, anywhere a badge looks right on a lanyard. Elkins snapped her folder closed. "So they're using the cover to ghost past cameras. They tried it at our precinct last month," Brennan said. Voss flagged it. "Somebody with a mop and a vendor badge walked where only sworn can walk." Why are they after me? Amara asked. Her voice didn't shake. It was a math problem demanding variables. Because you were visible and inconvenient, Cruz said. And because today's footage threatens a pattern bigger than one plaza. The ceiling lights flickered. The air vent hiccuped and stabilized. Cruz and Elkins both looked up. The tech looked down at the laptop, tapped a key, tapped again. We just popped to UPS power, he said. Main line blinked. Brennan touched his radio. Static answered. He frowned. That's not weather. Cruz stood. Locked the floor. The room light steadied, then dimmed one stop. Somewhere down the hall a door thudded. The tech's phone buzzed with a push alert. Garage-level access panel error. He swore softly. Somebody's tripping the service door sensors. Cruz moved to the wall phone and hit the red key. Ops, status. A male voice came back calm and a little too smooth. Minor power oscillation agent. We're writing the backup clean. Camera's good. Lock's good. Cruz's eyes narrowed. Confirm badge movements to garage from street in the last 60 seconds. Pages flipped on the other end, or pretended to. None. The tech held up his screen. Motion in the east stairwell just popped. Someone's on cam 3 but the feed's snow. Noted. Cruz told the phone, and hung up. She looked at Brennan. Your people. In the lobby with Kincaid, he said. Voss is en route to this floor. The vents hummed deepened for a breath, then resumed. The room felt an inch colder. Elkins rose. We move her. Cruz nodded. Safe room C. No windows. Second lock. They pushed into the hall. Shoes whispered across wax. The tech cradled his laptop in the cradle with both hands like they were sleeping newborns. Brennan walked rear guard, one hand at his belt, not touching the holster, fingers open, a show for cameras that might not be theirs. They rounded a corner and almost collided with Lieutenant Voss. Rain still clung to her collar. Her eyes took in the formation, the tense shoulders, the tech's pale knuckles. Power? Dirty, Cruz said. And eyes in our vents. Voss's jaw set. Kincaid is in interview 2. I put a body on that door. We're relocating the witness, Elkins said. Then we'll pull your officer into a room with all the red lights and none of the excuses. A metal clatter descended the stairwell well like a coin in a spiral wishing well. Everyone paused. The sound wasn't a drop. It was a placed noise, a hand deciding where attention should go. East stair, Brennan said. We take west. They moved. 2 more turns. A keypad blinked. Cruz punched 6 numbers. The bolt thunked back. Safe room C yawned. A steel closet with 2 chairs, a hardline phone and a wall safe for weapons. It smelled faintly of dust and fresh paint. Inside, Cruz said. Amara stepped through. Elkins followed and set the recorder on the table. The tech slid the phone cradle onto a shelf and attached its cable to the wall jack. Mirroring to off-site storage now, he said. Even if the building goes dark, your video lives. Voss and Brennan stayed in the hall, eyes sweeping. Cruz closed the steel door to a hand's breadth, leaving it unlatched while she said, We're not panicking, we're planning. If we get a hard cut, we sit tight for 5 minutes. Then we move to the fire stairs with 2 agents. No elevators. Copy, Amara said. Elkins slid her a glass of water from the room's cooler. Sip, shoulders down. Somehow the prosecutor knew how to make stress breathe. The hardline phone rang. 1 harsh chirp. 2, 3. Cruz lifted the receiver. Cruz. Static chewed the edges of a voice that sounded like it had gravel for breakfast. You're late. Identify yourself, Cruz said cold. You can call me the mop, the voice said amused. Tell the witness we're done chasing. She walks out quietly by the south exit with your lieutenant. Or we come into your pretty little room and teach your locks new songs. Cruz's eyes slid to the gap at the door. Voss stood there, profile a study in patience honed to a blade. Brennan had turned half away, listening to something only he could hear through the radio that wasn't working. You have 30 seconds, the voice added. Look up. Cruz did. A pinhole in the ceiling vent winked, then went dark. She kept her voice level. You're trespassing on federal property, interfering with a civil rights investigation, and threatening a protected witness, she said. Turn yourself in at the lobby desk. Ask for me. A soft, low chuckle. 3029. Cruz hung up and spoke faster than fear could grow. Brennan, seal south corridor. Voss, pull your officer off Kincaid's door and put him on this one. Tech, push that mirror hard and pull the drive. Elkins, call the marshal on duty and say the magic words. Elkins was already dialing. We have a credible threat to a protected witness. Building integrity possibly compromised. Request immediate marshal response and lockdown level 2, she said, crisp. The line clicked live and didn't drop. The tech yanked the cable, stuffed the captured phone and drive into a padded pouch and zipped it. Off-site mirror is at 92%, he said. 93. Voss stepped into the doorway as a shadow moved at the far end of the hall. 2 shapes where there should have been none. Gliding, heads down, no hurry that cameras could argue with. Voss didn't draw. She raised her open hand at shoulder height and said, conversationally, You're lost. One of the shapes stopped. The other didn't. Brennan slid forward, weight on the balls of his feet. Cruz pressed the door closed to the last inch before latch, leaving a seam of light thin as a blade. Time, the tech whispered. 95. 5 more seconds. 96. A dull thud against the emergency door at the end of the corridor said someone tried a bar they shouldn't. Somewhere below, a generator coughed. The lights blinked again, off, on, off, and came back at half strength. The seam of light under the safe room door went dim as dusk. Hold, Cruz said quietly. They held. The building listened like a living thing to decide which heart to trust. Mirror complete, the tech breathed, holding up the pouch like a relay baton. A soft scrape kissed the safe room lock, 2 floors of concrete away from any locksmith. The handle turned to its stop, the bolt held. A fingertip tapped the metal, 2 short, 1 long. Then a low voice from the hall, not filtered now, not distant, as if the mop had learned how to stand right outside a federal door and make the air his own. "Miss Benton," it said, calm, almost kind. "Open up. Let's end the part where you believe anyone can keep you safer than we can." Amara looked at Cruz, then at the drive in the tech's hand, then at the glass of water she hadn't finished. Her shoulder throbbed like the city's pulse. She set the water down without spilling a drop, squared her back, and answered loud enough for the recorder to hear. "No." The hall went very quiet. Then the building chose. Something heavy hit the east stairwell, like a note of bad music played too loud. The power snapped off, hard. In the dark, a dozen new sounds arrived. Boots, a key moving too fast, a hiss under the door as if a canister woke up 2 rooms away. "Masks," Cruz said, voice low and certain. "Back wall now." Amara grabbed the elastic bandage at her wrist, felt its grit, and found the wall without seeing it. The door handle rattled once, twice. A third time, like a question turned into a promise. The safe room lock held for 1 more breath. The safe room lock shivered like a tooth in winter. Darkness pressed against the door, dense and breathless. Then came the softest sound, a fizzing exhale from somewhere under the threshold, the hiss you only hear when a canister finds air. "Step back from the seal," Cruz said, voice low, controlled. She moved by memory, fingers finding the emergency cabinet. Hinges squealed. Masks thumped into waiting hands. The tech shoved one at Amara. Elastic bit her hair. Rubber sealed along her cheekbones with a damp kiss. The world narrowed to the sound of her breath. A metallic clack skimmed the hall, followed by the lean creak of weight settling into hinges. They were bracing a spreader on the jamb. "On me," Cruz whispered. She felt along the wall safe, spun the dial, pulled a hard case the size of a textbook, and slapped it onto the floor by the door. "Brennan," she called through the seam. "3 taps if you're there." 3 taps answered. "Solid. Human. Good," Cruz said. "On the count. Step clear." She toggled a switch on the hard case. A red LED glowed like a coal. The device began to whine, a thin, rising note. Amara saw nothing, but she felt the floor quiver, a barely there tremor traveling through concrete. Her mind guessed. A directional siren tuned for pain, not volume. 2, 1, Cruz said. She cracked the door a blade width. White pain knifed the hall. The spreader ran forward in its operator's hands like a dog yanked by a whistle. A muffled curse, another, boot scrambling. The whine climbed. The corridor answered with retching breath and a dropped tool clanging off tile. Brennan took the gap like a linebacker through an honest seam. The door slammed. The bolt dropped. The world returned to dull black. Masks breathing like sea creatures in a cave. Amara's heart slammed. The hiss under the door sputtered, then died. Someone kicked metal farther down. A voice Voss's cut through the dark. "Marshals on the floor, stand down, hands where I can see them." Another voice tried that chuckle they'd heard on the phone. "Your cameras are sleeping, Lieutenant. And your plan is over," Voss replied. Face down, fingers laced. Cruz switched off the siren box and peeled her mask to speak into the hard line. "Room secure. Threat disrupted. Head count." 2 in cuffs, Brennan said through the door, breathing hard. 1 more ran for the stair. Marshals intercepted at landing and he decided the floor was his friend. "Any friend of the floor is a friend of mine," Elkins muttered, half prayer, half humor. She kept her mask on and wrote in the dark, pen whispering the record into existence. The lights pulsed to life in stages, emergency strip lights first, then the overheads in a weary glow. The door opened. Brennan stood there, jacket torn, hair damp, eyes bright and a little wild. Voss held a flex cuff chain like a leash connected to an arm that lay obedient on the floor just out of view. 2 deputy marshals in gray windbreakers shouldered into the doorway, professional calm radiating like heat. "We're good," one said. "Building locked at level 2. Elevators dead, stairwells posted. Whoever cut your power did it sloppy." "Sloppy gets us killed," Cruz said, but she took the compliment in the shape it came. They stepped over a spreader, a pry bar, a dented canister, and a dropped vendor badge that read facilities in a font too bold to be real. On the floor, 2 men lay cuffed, faces turned toward the concrete. One's collar had ridden up, the winged spear gleamed at his throat like an old mistake. The other's wrist showed a thin patch of skin where a tattoo had been burned away, leaving only the ghost of lines. "Bag them before they cry lawyer," Elkins told the marshals. "Separate cars, separate rooms, copy." Voss nodded toward the interview corridor. "Kincaid?" Brennan tilted his head at a door with a tiny red light above it. Still in two, watching his cushion shrink. "Let's make it smaller," Elkins said. Cruz touched Amara's sleeve. "Not the torn one, the whole one. You okay?" Amara exhaled through the mask. "Better than the floor's new friends." "Then we move," Cruz said gently. "You're giving your formal statement now, and you're going to want to see this." They led her down a corridor, humming like a hive. A wall monitor cycled camera feeds. The garage gate smeared with rain. The south stair thick with marshals. The lobby where Brennan had meant what he said about keeping problems close. In one frame, a room with cinderblock walls and a bolted table. Interview 2. Inside sat Sergeant Kincaid in a department polo and a stare that had never learned to apologize. A camera eye watched from the corner. A quiet man in a tie asked routine questions and slammed unspoken ones down the middle like fastballs. Kincaid's hands sat palm down on the table. He had large hands, men's hands, the kind that snatch and pry. On his wrist, a pale strip of skin showed where a watch usually lived. Cruz rolled audio. Kincaid's voice came through tinny and stubborn. Lawful commands. The plaza video filled the frame on the wall opposite Kincaid, time-stamped and clean. Amara flinched at the rip. She watched her sleeve tear again in perfect detail, watched her phone leap and die, watched her jaw lift instead of her voice. In the room, Kincaid watched too. He didn't blink at the instant his hand took what wasn't his. The interviewer let the silence do what words never could. Kincaid finally breathed one word. "Context." "Here's context," the interviewer said, tapping keys. Footage from 3 other incidents took turns with the screen. Different corners, same patterns. Kincaid's hands belonging to the camera more than to policy. A chorus of days he had counted on passing uncounted. Kincaid's jaw shifted. The pale strip on his wrist flexed. He said nothing. The room heard everything. Elkins guided Amara 2 doors down. "In here," she said. The conference room was smaller, warmer, a flag in the corner, a recorder on the table, water, tissues no one touched. "Raise your right hand," Elkins said. Amara did. The oath felt less like a ritual and more like a promise to herself. She gave her statement, steady and precise. When her voice wobbled, it wasn't fear, it was anger with nowhere dishonest to go. She chose words like a careful builder chooses load-bearing beams. Cruz sat beside her, not interrupting, only adding details when needed. A timestamp here, a badge angle there. Halfway through, a marshal knocked. "IDs on the 2 downstairs," he said. "Names match former contractors tied to the port case you flagged, counsel. Same outfit, different lanyards." "Charges," Elkins said. "Felony burglary, attempted witness tampering, assault on federal officers, interference with a civil rights investigation," the marshal recited, the list a staircase that only went down. Cruz checked her watch. "City press will get this in 20. Voss?" The lieutenant answered from the doorway, rain finally drying from her collar. "Internal's already requesting your footage, Miss Benton. Brennan wants to roll a joint presser to tamp the rumor machine." "Rumor machines run on silence," Elkins said. "We'll feed it facts." Amara finished the last line of her statement like a runner breaking the tape. The recorder clicked off. The air changed, not lighter, truer. "Time for your meeting?" Cruz asked, a half-smile ghosting. Amara startled. "My grant." Elkins blinked, then laughed once. "Give me an hour and I'll call their board chair. You'll have a new time slot and 3 extra zeros worth of goodwill." "I don't want pity," Amara said. "Not pity," Elkins replied. "Respect. You kept your head. Funds like to follow spine." Bello texted Cruz a link. He tore her bag had gone Nova. The teen in the red beanie had pinned his full stream with Voss's badge number in the caption, and a line that read, "Record, respect, repeat." The plaza already had chalk messages under the transit map. "We see you and call for supervisors." They gave Amara a fresh blazer, navy, a little loose in the shoulders, and a new phone signed out from property with a temporary number and a case thick as a book. She slid the card Cruz had given her into the back like a talisman. Brennan stopped by long enough to say, "Plain thank you for how you stood there," and to mean it. Kincaid left interview 2 as a booking photo waiting to happen. Voss read him his suspension papers and set a hearing for Monday. He didn't lunge or spit or do the theatrical self-immolations some men favor when their mirror stops lying. He simply looked at the floor like he'd never liked it and walked between 2 marshals while cameras in the hall learned his shoulders by heart. When the rain finally thinned, Cruz walked Amara to the lobby. Outside, the flag snapped once in a dry gust. The city smelled like wet stone and relief. Across the street, people gathered not to chant but to watch, quiet phones down. Neighbors who had learned that sometimes the most useful sound is witness silence. "Are you safe tonight?" Cruz asked. "I'll stay with a friend," Amara said. "And tomorrow I'll pick up a new tote. Then I'll see you for your follow-up," Cruz said. "We're not done, but we're past the part where shadows choose the ground." Bello stood by his cart, a plastic poncho gathered at his neck like a cape. He raised a paper bag. "I saved your receipts," he said, "and your dignity did not need saving. But in case the day tries to argue, we kept the evidence." Amara smiled with tired eyes that held. "Thank you." He tipped an invisible hat. "Truth is a stubborn guest," he said again. "It lives here." She stepped onto the sidewalk and felt the city under her feet, rough and sure. The new blazer sat steady across her shoulders. Her wrist twinged. She flexed it once and let the ache be a page number, not a story. In a second-floor window across the street, a child traced letters on fogged glass. "HONEST. A mother corrected with a finger, laughing. A bus sighed, pigeons dipped, and rejoined the sky like punctuation on a sentence you didn't know you needed. Amara tucked the folder under her arm, clean now, edges squared, and started toward the exit with Agent Cruz. The door hissed. The air outside didn't feel safer. It felt earned. Behind them, in a room that reeked of oil and rain, the winged spearmen sat under lights that did not flicker. Their storylines narrowed to charges and dates. Upstairs, Voss and Brennan drafted policies with teeth, not slogans. Elkins cataloged lines of case law that, read aloud, sounded almost like a prayer. And in the plaza, because cities have long memories, someone restitched a torn strap with bright thread and wrote on a scrap of cardboard, "Supervisor on request." People pointed at it, took photos, kept walking, told friends. The radio under Bello's papers played a high-life riff that made the morning behave. By afternoon, the grant board called. "We saw," they told Amara. "We're ready." She nodded, took a breath, and spoke to them about community patrols and streetlight audits and youth internships that turned bystanders into EMTs, bakery cashiers into CPR trainers, teens in red beanies into archivists of daylight. When she hung up, the city had shifted half a degree closer to the place it claimed to be. She stood at the edge of the plaza where her sleeve had split and touched the line of stitches in her borrowed blazer. No apology sat on her tongue. No speech arrived. Only this. She picked up her new phone, pointed it at the sky, and recorded 10 quiet seconds of blue. "For the record," she said, and saved it.